Welcome to Channel Edge, the podcast where channel leaders share success strategies, best practices, and emerging trends. Brought to you by 360 Insights, the channel success platform.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Channel Edge. I'm your host, Stephen Kellum. Really appreciate everyone taking the time today to join us. We're going to dig into channel automation. And channel automation is a big topic for so many people. At 360, we live in the IA or incentive automation world. But very, very quickly and very much recently, we figured out we play in an ecosystem and how the other parts of a channel program are automated have a huge difference in the success of the programs we put out there. So it's a big topic. So joining us today to talk about that is Jay McBain from Forrester. If you don't know Jay yet, I'm sure most of you in the channel listening do. He's a principal analyst at Forrester for channels, partnerships, and ecosystems. Welcome, Jay.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, glad to. And, we've talked about this before, and I think this is an interesting topic for so many people as they start to understand how to make this happen. I would guess, Jay, if you polled everybody that's listening and everyone you talked to and said, how important is channel automation? 100% say really important?
I think so. So here's an interesting stat. We do poll 690,000 people a year in B2B and B2C and B2B2C, everybody in every walk of life. And all the things that are going on right now, with the pandemic and with, these new future of work and these remote topology and all this move to the cloud, this move into marketplace, for all the things that are going on, automation is the number one spending area in the world. And when you talk to channel folks, it is absolutely what they're laser focused on in terms of driving their program, their processes, their technology. Everything is around automation. Couldn't be a more important topic.
Okay, so why is that?
Well, first of all, the pandemic has accelerated a lot of the trends that we were seeing, a couple of years ago. But mostly, in the early days when everyone went home, a lot of the processes and workflows and business logic broke down. We figured out quickly that many of these things were built over the course of decades. Were built with humans in the middle of as gates. They were built with workplaces in the middle of, assuming people would be in cubicles, sitting next to each other. And in those early days, we saw a lot of programs. We saw a lot of things break down. And now companies are refocusing on how to move humans to be more parallel. Let some of these things become more automated. Let some of the more modern tools take effect, like AI and other types of things, and really drive a program to where humans can drive the creativity, they can drive some of the exceptions, the conflict, and the areas that humans do really well. But just clicking things forward and advancing workflows and things like that, that's not an area that makes a lot of sense anymore, especially with the rapid increase in channels.
Well, if everyone agrees it's so important, why isn't everyone doing it? I can't tell you how many times we're getting on calls with billion-dollar companies that are still on spreadsheets. For in a sense, now in our world, right? Now everybody has CRM, right? But when you get past that, still a lot of holes.
Well, it is. And, people who run channels, people who run alliances, people who run ecosystems have been laggards. When I mentioned this massive growth, number one spending area in the world, we're watching industries like RPA, which is robotic process automation. We're watching business process automation, business process outsourcing, all the industries that have taken advantage of this big move towards automation. RPA is up 81% year over year. One of the biggest companies, UiPath, went public this year and is worth $35 billion. This is a really fast growing area. Wall Street is, really interested in this. And obviously retail investors are interested in this. And I think the channel is still kind of coming to grips with what this means. We got 100 elements of the program. We got all these technology pieces underneath it. And we've got all these moving parts in terms of people and processes. And they're trying to come to grips with where to go first with automation.
What are some of the big upsides? For me, I would say I always lean towards user experience, right? And maybe just because I'm a consumer, or maybe UI, UX appeals to me, or maybe I just like things simple and easy and intuitive, right? Like the Apple Watch that you showed me, right? But so for me, I always start with user experience, both from the partner and the administrative side.
What is it's partner experience. And, as you know, everyone's going through a digital or digital only journey. At the point that you've made vendor selection or the point that you've signed up for a program in the channel, for example, that's not the point that you're really excited to go physical. After we've gone through the whole part of buying our car, which on average is 28 different moments that we go through before we make vendor selection, the least exciting part about buying a car is when you end up at the dealership and they sit you down for 8 hours to get you the deal. Where people are starting to reply back that this is happening everywhere now. I'm so excited. I did all my 28 moments. I've decided to partner up with this vendor. I've got all kinds of excitement and everything else. And then the world turned physical on me. And I don't have a chance to get in through the portal. I don't have a chance to get to the onboarding, the education, the training. I don't have a chance to get into the incentives and the motivation and the loyalty and the co-selling, all the 100 really good parts of it to strike while the iron's hot. There's all these artificial gates in the system, and partners are now less excited weeks later, and you've lost that initial surge. And it's a big problem that the industry needs to fix.
Look, and I truly believe that today it not always going to be that way, because it's going to become table stakes. I think it's a huge competitive advantage right now.
Absolutely. I mentioned last week on LinkedIn, I think that, Microsoft has 470,000 partners, which sounds like a lot. And it's one of the biggest channels in the world. But more exciting than that, they're bringing on 300 to 400 new partners every single day. So in this case, over 10,000 partners a month, over 100,000 a year, they're replacing that original channel, every couple of years now. So this is a massive undertaking. Can you imagine onboarding with physical or people-based, human-based processes, 400 different partners a day? There'd be no way you could hire at that level. So it's forced to be automated. And then secondly, we know that as we've sized out all these different programs, all the different channels and different industries, as we've looked at it from the consumer side, an ecosystem is 10 times larger than a transactional channel today. And that's going to be larger in the future. And so if you think about all your current systems and processes and workflows to bring on the partners you have today, you just have to multiply that by 10 and think about going in front of your CFO and asking for 10 times the people, 10 times the money, 10 times. It's not going to work. Right. You're going to be forced into it.
Well, and then you're, from the competitive advantage perspective, you're not going to get the satisfaction, you're not going to get the engagement, you're not going to get the success out of it as well, too. And those partners in a highly competitive world are going to speaking of partner onboarding, right, and getting these new partners, their expectations, even as consumers, are already way up here. And if they find somebody who is going to address it and make it easy for them to engage, look, I mean, it's really simple. That's where they're going to head, right?
Yeah, and it's highly personalized too. Partner number one that comes in, needs really 30 seconds of elevator pitch to be enabled. And that's what they're looking for. And their entire incentive structure is a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Partner number two that walks in needs deep level technology training. They need, to get certified. They need competencies, basically classroom level training. They need, multiple level incentive programs, from volume rebates to market development funds to new customers. And that's just comparing two different scenarios. And there's, so many permutations in the middle of personalization that just can't be done anymore at a human level.
So, incentive automation is huge. There's no question about that. And we see that growing every day. But what else is really on the hot list out there, right? Is it PRM? Is it TCMA? What else do you see is like the biggest trend in channel automation?
Yeah, we look at 7 different layers of how to run channels from a technology standpoint. But a big part of our demand is in the incentive space. Right now, we're writing a NowTech and a Wave in this space that customers are demanding to look at this deeper. And they're starting to come to the realization that they're overpaying in many areas for incentives. That partner that would be excited about a cup of coffee, they're spending thousands of dollars in finder's fees and different kinds of back-end rebates and other types of things. And they're not getting to that highly personalized level. Right. And somebody that they are buying maybe a cup of coffee for would be better off with a deeper set of behavioral or psychological, incentives to take it to the next level. Right. So this level is getting a lot of attention, and we're being asked every day on inquiries and everything else to go a level deeper. The other category, I think, combined with this is on the ecosystem management side of it. It's not just how to do incentives and how to manage all the end-to-end complexities that come with the global and the multi-persona and multi-industry, everything else, but it's how do I do that times 10? And how do I align this to other maybe non-transacting partners, non-traditional partners? How do I do this with customers who become co-innovation partners? How do I do this with different style of partners that are looking to create value with us in different ways? Embedded, white labeled, joint ventures. How do we leverage network effects and then incent network effects in a different way? The idea that the future buyer is going to look a lot like a consumer, both in B2B and B2B2C, is carrying over a lot of the strength that you have at 360 of this idea of how to get highly personalized and get a set of a structure of incentives that don't look at a company level, but look at the person inside that company level.
I think the really cool thing about all that, Jay, is through this automation, you can learn, you can understand, as you said, where to put those dollars, because you have data, right? I mean, you can start to make data-driven decisions.
Absolutely. We're seeing a huge surge in technology, for example, to do attribution, which used to be in the zone of only, consumer, when Kim Kardashian goes and does an Instagram ad. Well, guess what B2B companies are asking us for every day now is these non-transacting partners and trying to figure out how to stack rank them. Right. The next question, by the way, that follows that one is how do we lay out incentives? To now go to that stack rank list and making sure that people are doing good work for us, start doing great work for us. That happens before the point of transaction, but it's also happening now after the point of transaction. You've got big companies now, big Fortune 100 companies like Dell and Cisco and HPE and IBM and others going all in subscription consumption. So they're not as interested anymore in that initial transaction, which is the first 30 days with the customer. Now they're asking, how do we incent adoption? Because if I don't get adoption, I don't get renewals. How do I incent deeper integrations and stickiness? Because if I don't get that, I don't get my retention rate up. How do I incent upsell and cross-sell and enrich my contract over time? So there's all these different KPIs in a different business model, subscription consumption model, that is completely foreign to many of the channel professionals that have been running programs for decades.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. All of this kind of coming together is incredibly valuable, but to me, it actually has to come together in the data. And some of the challenges in the automation, and this is what I've seen, I'm curious what you've seen. I've seen some organizations rush to automate, but they haven't thought through what to do with the data. And they're automating, Jay, in silos. And the whole idea is when you automate, we can go down the ecosystem orchestration path in a moment, but if you don't think ahead on how to pull it all together, I still don't think you're coming close to getting what you could get out of it in your investment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You talked earlier about the user experience or the partner experience. If you start automating a certain part of your program, you might be just delaying that, good digital journey, and then it hits physical or it hits a human-based bump in the road. So, we look at all the 100 elements of the program, and if you can start automating looking left and looking right across that partner journey, which now never ends, the type of stuff you can learn during onboarding and implement during enablement, the stuff you learn during co-selling and co-marketing that you can implement in your motivation and loyalty strategies. Looking left and looking right, and obviously consuming all this data through automation has to be a holistic approach.
I like that. That sounds really simple. And I don't like simple ideas. Looking left and looking right while you're automating. You could trademark that. That would actually be a pretty cool t-shirt.
Yeah. It's actually rhymes too. So you're a poet and you don't know it.
Don't forget to look left or look right. Either way. Anyways, I think that's pretty cool. So quick question for you. How do individuals make this happen? Let's just assume that half of our listening audience today has said, hey, I need to sell up on this. I need to figure out how to get more funds for automation. By the way, it's not just funds, it's resources. Half the time I talk to people, it's getting their IT team on board and everything internally besides just the budget. So what's the justification? How do we help people get there?
Well, it's a question we get all the time. And, you don't want to start in a silo, as we just talked about, but you do want to start small. Automation is something that you can quickly boil the ocean if you're not careful. And if you start looking at every single process and every moment along that partner journey, you can get overwhelmed, overwhelm your team, and then obviously overwhelm your CFO as you're, asking for money. So it's the type of thing where, sometimes you can go listen to your partner advisory council, but a lot of times they tell you what you want to hear. A lot of times they're your best partners on that council. So I'll tell people, like, go on Reddit and type in your company name, and then you'll get an unfiltered kind of expletive-ridden, type of advice on where the thing's breaking down and the frustrations that people are having. And look at your partnerships in the communities that they collaborate in. And you'll actually pick up some areas of concern. We have companies, like in terms of automation, throwing just a simple chat bot on the bottom right-hand corner inside the portal. So when somebody comes along something that breaks, they can just give real-time feedback. And we've got a tool that we call Feedback Now, which is that like green, yellow, and red thing that you find in bathrooms at airports. How was your experience today? But that type of thing's coming to the web, which is, I got through this okay, and I'm trying to do what I think is a simple thing, and I don't think a human needs to be involved, but somehow I'm hitting a wall. And it could be just user experience. I could do it, I just don't know how, or the system's not easy to use, or it's just something that you can pick up. And your team can quickly stack rank some of these, what we'll call small automation opportunities, start linking them together, showing success, and then you can walk into your CFO with, a baseline of success and build on top of that.
Well, and from my perspective, I think one of the interesting points, and I'd like your take on this, is it doesn't mean we don't want human interaction. We just want human interaction at a strategic level, not at execution level. And to me, I think there's a massive difference. And so many times in our world, we've run into organizations that have individuals who could be very, very strategically plugged in, are chasing around things and solving those problems you just talked about. But that's not what people are looking for. At least I don't think that's what they're looking for.
Well, that's exactly right. So what ends up happening is, due to, jurisprudence or due diligence, or for whatever reasons, because it's financial, you've set a person as a gate. But once you start inspecting that person, it kind of goes back to that movie, Office Space. What do you do here? Well, when a request comes in, I check system A, I check system B, and if it's within this threshold or parameters, I approve it.
Right.
Well, then you kind of go step back and say, well, 360 can probably check system A and then check system B and then approve it. And then what's the financial risk that the system makes a mistake? And I remember in previous lives with big companies that we'd actually do the math, and the mistake, would be a maximum, if all things went wrong, would be like $10,000.
Right.
And we're spending $150,000 to have a person there that wouldn't catch the mistake anyway, but could be solved with a net risk to the company of $10,000. So these are the kind of what we'll call low-hanging fruit. When I say starting small, go out there and ask your partners in a survey. Go find them in the communities that they communicate in. Go try to find this low-hanging fruit. This is something where maybe you don't even need the budget. You've got the tools already in the platform to go fix some of these, test it, almost this A/B testing. And, you start to squash little things for your partners, allowing you to go ask for the bigger things.
So what does the future hold? Going back to my previous statement, there's so much room for interaction with human beings. And I think it's relational, right? And problem solving and strategic. So what does the future hold? How far can we go on this automation path in the channel, right? Where's the right outcome for that? Even say 12, 24, 36 months. I mean, we could talk 20 years from now, and who knows, we'll all have stuff in our chips in our arms, right? But for right now, maybe we'll talk about the next 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, if I'm able to open up that resource that we just talked about, and what if they were motivated to go do something creative? Like go find out what our partners think about that process that you're in the middle of. And now that you're not in the middle of it, go ask them, who does it better? What is the best practice? Go ask, people that are experts in this area, how to do it better, how to rethink that process, how to maybe eliminate that process. And, these are the type of things that people are motivated to do. You're using your left brain, you're using your right brain. You're not a mechanical Turk sitting there approving things as they move through the system. These are the types of things that people actually want to do. In the future of work, this has meaning. Work is what you do, not where you go. And if you can elevate all of your staff to start rethinking the program, and then ask them to put on their scalability hats, because how would we do this at 10 times over with the same amount of money, same resource, same people? How would we actually do this in a much bigger environment at a level of scale that we've never seen before, and be able to do that much cleaner with much better partner experience?
Look, I love, I like to turn left, look right, but I think elevate your staff. I was going to have a couple of takeaways on that. I think the look left, right is a great thing, but I think elevate your staff is a big thing. And sometimes we forget that, right? How can we take them up to be more strategic? And I think automation is definitely a big part of that.
Absolutely.
All right, Jay, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. A quick question here for folks who are not connected with you. And I know you're one of the most connected people out there. So there are some people who aren't connected, I'm sure. So what's the best way for people to reach you and get connected?
Yeah, absolutely. Whichever way you prefer. If you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, you can reach out any way that way. I'm at Jay McBain at Forrester.com if email's your preference. But yeah, I'm all over. If I'm happy to answer your question, whichever way it comes in.
Okay. Hey, once again, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Listeners, thank you for listening. Once again, if you have information or feedback that you would like to give us to connect me to Jay or myself, please feel free to reach out to channeledge@360insights.com. We'd love to hear from you. And once again, we want to thank everybody for joining us. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Channel Edge, brought to you by 360 Insights, the channel success platform. Subscribe now on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Google Play, and you'll always be the first to access new episodes where channel leaders share success strategies, best practices, and emerging trends. For bookings, feedback, questions, or comments, feel free to email us at channeledge@360insights.com.